So welcome everyone to this Quick Start Basics class. We're so happy to be with you. Our purpose is to equip and empower you to build a strong and profitable network marketing business, to be the best networker that you can be. And if that is your goal, I am so happy to say that you're in the right place. This is the best method that I know in all of network marketing for what we're teaching you here. So I'm very proud and grateful. I'll tell you the story in a moment. Meanwhile, our purpose, Jeffrey David Gamble and mine, is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. That's our purpose and mission and strategy. Before we get started, though, I'd like to let you know some things that are coming up this week. You may want to grab a pen and paper to take this down. Many of you know that we teach a lunchtime show at noon Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. It's a free, open Facebook Live called the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, where we teach one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership by John Maxwell. And that lasts about 30 minutes. I like to say, well, this is where you can grow for lunch or come and get food for thought, maybe while you have lunch in the East Coast or breakfast in the West Coast. This Monday, tomorrow, is the law number 16 of the 21 laws. It's called the Big Momentum. And these are by John Maxwell, who a lot of people recognize as the world's #1 leadership expert in the world. And he says that momentum is a leader's best friend. So we will cover that tomorrow. That's something that you can pop on to either Jeff's or my page. You can go to our Facebook group. We have a Facebook group for that called the MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show. And you can go there. You can request membership. You can request a free ebook of that 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. So this is a wonderful thing that we see a whole lot of our students from this class on that show, and they bring friends. And it's been quite popular. It gets between 300 and 700 views every day now. We're getting into our 10th month of doing this every day for lunch. So y'all are welcome to come and bring people and let people know about it, like Becky has. Becky bought 11 of those books for her family for Christmas and gave them the link for the show. Becky's on here from Alberta, Canada. Tuesdays is another Facebook Live that Jeff and I do at 3 p.m. Eastern Time every week. We've been doing that almost a year, too. And we have a topic for network marketers every week to help them grow their business. The topic this week, Jeff, is, I'm trying to think what it is this Tuesday. 3 things to, he's going to help me.
About 3-way calls.
Oh, yeah, 3-way calls. I could do pantomime or something here. But it's, what's better than a 3-way call? What's better than a 3-way call? This is a very popular topic in network marketing, and I always used to teach to do 3-way calls. In my school for 10 years, I taught you got to do 3-way calls to be successful in network marketing. We're gonna show something better. And this was Jeff's idea, Jeff's technique that he evolved. So be sure and tune into that. You can send people to that as well. Now, you all know that this class tonight, the Quick Start Basics class, is about the 10 core commitments for network marketers. They've been tried and true for decades to teach, to help network marketers be successful and to train their teams real well. And we're going to get into that for a minute, but did you know that we teach another class within the school? And that is on Wednesday nights. That is a smaller group, an inner circle group of people who are studying advanced leadership with John Maxwell's books. It turns out that Jeff, fortunately, is a trained, certified John Maxwell trainer, speaker, and coach. And that allows us to teach this class. So we cover one of the John Maxwell books a month in this class. We dive deep into the leadership principles, and it is just incredible. I love it so much for personal growth, for leadership, for business, but also just to make me a better person. I just love these classes. Right now, we are on this book here, which is, I'm holding it for the people to see the video. It's called John Maxwell's The Complete 101 Collection. It's like several books into one big, fat book. And this week, we are on the section, or the chapter, the book's called Relationships, and we're doing chapters 4 through 8 in that book. So for those in the class, we'll see you on then. For those not in the class who'd like information, just private message me. I can get you that information, and I can let you know that you all have a discount to that class. Just being in the Quick Start Basics class gives you a discount to that Leadership University. We call it MLMLU, MLM Leadership University. So, what happened with our open house last week? We had a lot of new people attend. We recorded it. We're sending out the replay right now to people. And we've offered 2 specials on there. Some of you have taken advantage of those specials. These are for you as well as the people, new people who have come on. So we've had both. The members take advantage of these specials and brand new people too. You can find those specials at mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics, mlmmillionaireclub.com/basics. And you will see there are 3 options for people. Your regular $25 a month that you're paying, and also we are offering a half price special, which some of you have taken advantage of, so we're jazzed about that. And that is a whole year for half the price, which comes to $150. And then there are some members who have taken advantage of the whole year for regular price of $300. Then you get 2 coaching sessions thrown in, which are worth $500. So some people are using those to refine their 10-minute presentations and get those really honed, and then they're going to copy that off and give those to their team members because they know that's the best tool, marketing recruiting tool, and it's worth really polishing that up, and then you can duplicate it and pass that on. So I would like to welcome a new member tonight who just joined a few hours ago, and that is an old friend and student, Andrew Feiner. He is from Ohio. Would you like to say hello, Andrew? Oh, we need to unmute 937. That may take scrolling down to find it.
Hey everyone, I'm Andrew Feiner. I'm from Dayton, Ohio, and I've been in and out of network marketing over the past few years. And Beth's reached out to me today at a perfect time, so it just worked out, and here I am.
I'm so glad. Thank you. And we'll go ahead and mute you now to clear out any and have the best audio for everybody here. And so you'll get to know, Andrew, the wonderful people in this class. You can find them in our private Facebook group. You can find everybody there and become Facebook friends. We get to know each other better. Andrew is not new to network marketing, so he brings his past experience as well as his he's been succeeding very, very well at his job, and he brings that experience and success to the table too. And I told him that, gosh, we got the tools now for him to really shoot ahead and make that residual income that so many people want. So I think you all can verify for that firm that that's been happening. Andrew, you'll find that formula, you'll find it all in a nutshell in your ebook that comes. You'll find the email. If you didn't get your email yet, let me know. Check your spam mail and all that. But when you get your email, you will find the Always Get a Yes book in that email and every email I send out. Look on pages 5 to 12, and then you have the written out directions for your Always Get a Yes favor script, which we'll mention tonight, or I'll mention it real quick here, and that is that you text 10 people. Hi, I want to ask you a favor. I want to let you know what I do in case you run across the right person. You could refer them to me. Is this a good time? And that works with everybody, Andrew, because it never gets a no. It doesn't get any objections. It doesn't mention network marketing. Doesn't need a video. Works with all 4 personalities. Perfectly duplicatable. It's just an ingenious, like super indirect script. And I used to teach Eric Worre's indirect script, but now we find this is even better. It's the best I know in network marketing. And in that book, it shows you you will find your directions of how to follow up with that with a 10-minute presentation that you do verbally instead of giving a video, and why, and how this works so well for people who have not been able to invite before, who've not been able to get appointments, who've gotten no's because it just doesn't get a no. And all you do is a lot of presentations with the idea of educating, and you'll find that you get a referral or you get a customer or both, usually, and then your business is off and running. It's easy to duplicate with your team, and you'll find this in that Always Get a Yes book. If you have not gotten you'll also find it in the Facebook group in the top post called Announcement. You'll find all of this information. So look there, too, for a whole lot of tools I've put in the links in that first announcement. Now, the 10 core commitments. Well, before I do that, let me tell you, for the people who are new or listening to the replay, too, just a little bit about us. Who are we to be teaching this? Well, Jeffrey David Gamble has 24 years of experience in network marketing and direct sales, has personally recruited over 500 people frontline, has done over 10,000 presentations and built teams to over 11,000 in 7 countries in 3 years. His teams have produced over 10 million sales, and he has other businesses too. He's a multi-entrepreneur. He has a holistic business, real estate, and of course teaches here in the school. And Bess McCarty, I have been a body-mind therapist and holistic health practitioner for 35 years. I have been full-time network marketer for years. I won a trip to the Bahamas, helped me raise my son as a single mom when my company went out of business. I got into personal growth work and dived into that to help myself and help other people. Now I bring this back to network marketers. I'm called the shrink of MLM because, dubbed that by one of my clients and students, because I've personally helped hundreds of network marketers break through the blocks and fears and negative beliefs. I'm now a dedicated generic coach because that's my calling as a therapist. Also a martial arts teacher, a minister, a healer, and a teacher. Met Jeff 5 years ago now on Eric Worre's page. We talked, became Facebook friends. He would always be so positive and give like really right-on tips and support and edify always, and just stayed in touch. About a year ago, we talked at length. I discovered the methods he was using, and I said, these are fantastic. I'm committed to bringing the best methods to my school, which I've been running for 10 years for network marketers. Would you come and teach them? He did, and a lot, just generously for free, and we ended up realizing that we're going to be teaching in the school together. So now the school is run by Jeff, me, and his fiancée, Brandy Pember. And that is our story. The 10 core commitments. We chose this at Jeff's suggestion to bring these forefront to the classes in the school because they have been proven for decades. We didn't make them up. These are proven success principles. They're the basics, the foundation. The 10 are, number 1, getting started right. Number 2, be here a year from now. 3, personal development. 4, market daily, and that includes using that favorite script I just mentioned, how to invite people, find people. And the number 5 is present daily, which includes that 10-minute presentation that's in that Always Get a Yes book. That includes 5 points with 3 bullet points under each one, you'll see, for new people. Number 6, attend a weekly presentation, which some people call an open house. Number 7, attend a weekly core training like you're doing now. You're doing this. You're on one. So we're going to cover this tonight. Number 8, attend a monthly regional. Number 9, attend all company conventions. And number 10, create and use a monthly massive action plan. You'll probably want to take a lot of notes on this. It's different, even though we repeat it every single time, because repetition is the mother of success, and we need this to get these principles real well. In fact, we hope you keep attending this class until you can teach it to your team. We offer a certificate for each 10 that you complete. In other words, when you've attended or heard the replays for all 10 of the 10 core commitments, message me, and we will issue a certificate in the Facebook group, which you can print out and frame, get your picture taken with. We can brag about you. When you've a number of you have already done that. When you've completed that level 1, start working on level 2, where you attend the same 10, but you do it again, because we teach the same but also different aspects of it each time. So there are actually 10 levels of certifications in all. So that would be 100 classes. And then you may be qualified to teach with us. So we encourage you to take notes. We teach one of the 10 core each week. Tonight is number 7, attend the weekly core training. So each week we dive deep into that core. It lasts 90 minutes. The class is 90 minutes. Then we turn the recording off, and then we have open coaching time, where we want to hear from you your greatest takeaway, your favorite thing that you heard tonight. So you can make a note of that, and when we're done, we're gonna call each person in turn and give you a chance to share that, because we learn from you. We also learn what's valuable to you, and that kind of is a little bit of a recap and reminder for everybody listening. And then we'll have questions too. So this is the time you can ask any questions about network marketing, about the class tonight, or anything that you've been experiencing this week, putting into action that you have a question with and you'd like coaching on. This is also the time when you can share your tips and insights. So I think we're ready to dive into number 7. And, oh, by the way, I want to welcome James Adcox, Lisa Rauch, and Steve Redden, who've also popped on. Hope I covered everybody. And over to you, Jeff.
All right, guys. So the 10 core, Bess just covered what they are. And just kind of give you the background to that, I worked with a couple people who have built organizations into over 1 million people. And I felt, you know, when I started learning these different things, I found that I was able to take this information to different companies, different product lines, and it pretty much was the same thing every time. Now, here's why it works every time. Because if you look at network marketing as a whole, there are really 2 philosophies. There are sell the products, and there are certain companies that are more sales-based. You know, get in, create inventory, and turn around and sell. And you make, you know, a great amount of money selling the product. You know, there's a bunch of great companies in that space. The Avon, Mary Kay, and I'm not saying that they only sell, but I'm saying they have a much greater philosophy of sales and training in sales. You know, there are companies like Passion Parties. I've got a friend that made a fortune in passion parties, and all she did was parties every weekend. Eventually, her kids grew up, and she had, you know, to basically give up so much time, and she was like, okay, this isn't working quite as well, doing that many parties for what she was doing. There are companies like Cutco, which has a network marketing or direct sales-based philosophy that's very heavily in sales. Pampered Chef, which is an amazing company owned by, you know, the gentleman who owns Berkshire Hathaway, one of the wealthiest people on the planet. He said that the network marketing company that he bought is the greatest ROI investment he's ever made. You know, if Warren Buffett, one of the wealthiest investors in the world, is like, look, guys, I bought a network marketing company, because obviously he's not going to go out and do the work to build it. He bought one, and he's like, guys, this has the greatest potential of anything that I've ever owned. You know, that's a lot said from a billionaire. So it's very cool, you know, that that's the respect and perspective of, you know, the industry from some of the wealthiest people. Now, if you talk to some of the dumbest people on the planet, I know you probably have those friends and relatives too, co-workers that, you know, you mentioned that you're involved, and they want to give you their 2 cents. And the reason stupid people always try to give their 2 cents is because 2 cents is all it's worth, you know, in a lot of cases. I'm not looking for 2 cents. I'm looking for consulting. That's why it typically costs money to talk to experts, because experts are going to give you the right things to do. So I worked with a couple people who were able to build with this philosophy. It's not a sales philosophy. It's a recruiting philosophy. It's a team-building philosophy. And if you're going to recruit and build a team, it takes different skills. It takes different focuses. It takes different philosophies. So there's a lot of philosophies out there. I just found that a guy who's built a team to 1 million+ people and done it more than once knows what they're doing. Another gentleman that I worked with had not only built to 1 million people, but built teams underneath him to 1 million people by themselves. So he actually had a leg of his business, 1.4 million people. So I figured if he was able to do that, not just in the United States, but in about 50 countries around the world, you know, he was able to do it over and over again, and then take that information. It's the same philosophy. I've heard it in Spanish, I've heard it in Indian, and the only reason I've heard it in these different languages is because I've watched trainings where they've translated it into Romanian, into, you know, some of the Asian languages, into, you know, into Spanish and French and Portuguese. You know, I've seen it in Brazil. You know, when I realized, oh my gosh, this has been translated over and over again, it just makes sense to me to use something. And what I found is I was able to use it. They were able to use it. They were built much bigger teams than me. You know, one of the gentlemen that I followed is still listed as the #1 earner of all time. You know, in personal income, he earned more than $450 million in personal income in direct sales. Now, there are companies that haven't done that. So, you know, his wife is still alive and earning. So my guess is within the next few years, they're going to earn half a billion in personal income from direct sales and network marketing. Now, they got started in 1964, so they have a little bit of time advantage on us. But here's what we know. Based on what we're seeing inside the industry is the incomes are going up. The incomes are going up. People are making more than they ever have, and people are making it faster than they ever have. So technology does exist, but also what I've found is the teams that have outlasted everything all do very similar things, and it's more people-based, and it's more, it's almost a slower start and a longer-lasting principles work better than the, hey, can you, so many people are looking for the quick fix. So many people are looking for the click funnel. So many people are looking for the way just to send out messages. I just got bombarded by a bunch of people who are like, oh my gosh, it's over. I never have to talk to anybody again. All I'm going to have to do is send an email. And I'm like, okay, email died, approximately 15 years ago in marketing. Email died. Now, it still works on a very, very, very large level, but it's in the 1%, 2% range of open rate and conversion, unless you already have a prior relationship with the person. If you have a prior relationship with the person, totally different. We're just going to be able to just text message. We're never going to have to talk to anybody. We're never going to have to build a relationship. And I will be totally honest, there are some companies out there that if you have enough money to market and just market, and you're spending all your money on marketing, and you understand A/B testing, and you understand, Bess also said, a dollar made inside of network marketing versus a dollar made inside of internet marketing it's basically 20 to 1. You'll spend 20 times more money, you'll spend 20 times more time learning how to internet market than you will the marketing we're going to talk about tonight. And what I've found is people who can't market to another person never figure out how to market online. Because it takes the first principles of learning how to market to an individual the way we're talking about to be able to transfer over into internet marketing. So what we're basically saying is if you can't recruit your neighbor, there's very little chance you're going to be able to go online and recruit anybody else using any system that exists. And I've watched people spend upwards of $25,000. I've watched people burn through their savings. I've watched people burn through their retirement. And I'm talking about friends of mine that I physically told, do not take out a loan and go do that, and they did it anyway, and they went broke. I know 40 and 50-year-old people living at their parents' house because they didn't have any option because they lost their house and car. So I'm being very, very transparent, and that's why I'm so strong about it, because I've literally watched people devastate themselves being promised that it's just 3 steps. That's typically what you hear inside the internet. It's just 3 steps. If you just buy our program for $7 million and you just watch these videos and you just, create a blog and created this and created that and created this and created that and created this and created that. And typically, if it's $200 up front, what happens is it's $200 to see if you'll spend $200. That's really what they're going to teach you. They're going to teach you if you'll spend $200. And then when you spend $200, then they're going to get you to spend $2,000. And after you spend $2,000, then you're going to need coaching to understand how it all works. And that's going to be another $2,000 a month. And you think I'm kidding. I've watched program after program come out like this. And when Beth and I got together, I said, here's what we're going to do. I said, instead of being super expensive, which we could absolutely charge a ton of money for this. I said, we're going to make this so inexpensive. And I said, I think we should drop it from what you're charging right now all the way down to $25. She's like, hold up. Hold up. Are you sure? And I said, yeah. I said, at $25, I said, would you have any problem marketing this to any person on the planet? And she's like, no, it's almost like we're giving it away. And I'm like, exactly. So we're going to provide so much for that $25 that anybody in their right mind would refer more and more people over to this and make sure that they hear it. So with that huge opening sales pitch, I guess, let's talk about the meat and potatoes of why you're here. Tonight is really about training and why training. And what I found is every training I've ever went to, there was a couple things that happened. First of all, I attended all trainings. You're not going to attend some trainings and become an expert. You're not going to attend some trainings and become influential. You're not going to train. And what I mean by some trainings is the trainings that are convenient. You know, the trainings that you can get to. I made a point that if I was going to make the money that would outpay my job, that would outpay my other careers, if I wanted to do network marketing on a very high level, which I hope you do, if you don't, I wish every person on this call wants to make at least 6 figures. And here's why I hope everybody on here wants to make 6 figures, is because I've met people, like Lisa Grossman said, I've met people older, younger, stupider, fatter, uglier, with less talent, with more problems, make 6 figures. Everybody on here, I've watched people make 6 figures in companies. So not only do I believe you can do it, but there are people who are less fortunate that are making 6 figures in the industry than you, and they just did a couple simple things, the right things to do, over a long enough period of time, and got the results. So number one, I made attending the trainings 100% like I was going to do it. And I told my friends, and I told everybody, and I told my sponsor this. I said, if I'm not there, he's like, hey, there's a training coming up. I said, look, you don't even have to call me anymore to tell me. I said, if I'm not there, there's 2 places to look for me, the hospital or the morgue. I'm either dead or I'm dying. Those are the only 2 reasons I'll miss ever. I said, otherwise, if I get into an accident, I'll take an Uber. If the plane shuts down, I'll be on a train, but I will make it. Horseback, skateboard, surfboard, I don't care, I'm coming. And not only am I coming, I'll show up, I'll sit up front, I'll have a notebook. If I have to tear, something off the wall in the hotel to write on, I'll be there up front. And he's like, okay, I don't think I've ever had anybody tell me that. And I said, well, that's how serious I am. And the people that we're working with right now, he's starting to see, the commitment level that we have. I'm like, we're coming. There's no doubt. Not only are we coming, we're bringing an army with us when we are coming. And it's starting to show that commitment level. So if you want people to follow you, if you want to be influential, do you have to have that level of commitment? Well, I might be an extreme of it, but do you have to be 100%? Yes. Yes. Here's the thing. People don't want to follow wishy-washy, kind of, maybe, sort of, and that's where I can hear it in somebody's voice right away when I coach, and that's one of the reasons to actually spend money for coaching, is I can hear right away in the first 3 minutes of your conversation what you're talking about and the words you're using. I know right away where you're at and what the problem is usually. I mean, it's instantaneous. I don't have to dig real deep. The digging real deep part is basically just being a friend enough with you to be able to share some stuff with you so you hate me and you don't hate the system in the process. I just want to be able to give you the truth in a way that you can process it and, basically come to a point where you're able to take off and use it and fix some of the things you need to fix. Number 2, so number 1 was attend. I was going to attend all trainings. I was 100% committed. Number 2 is I started bringing the people with me. Now, that was a trick because in the beginning I didn't have any influence. In the beginning I didn't know anybody to bring. Guys, I can tell you story after story after story of the people who told me they were going to come, who sometimes bought tickets, who told me I could come over and pick them up, and ghosted. Ghosted means they didn't even show up. They didn't tell me no. They just weren't there at all. I had people who literally got in their car to follow me and then turned off right afterwards and didn't show up. Which was devastating because these were friends of mine. These were people I used to hang out with. But what I found is I don't like being around people who aren't committed. So I left a lot of people there where they were at, and the funny thing is they're still there. And what I mean by they're still there, they're still, in a lot of cases, in the same apartments, in the same cars, and we're talking about 15 and 20 years ago. Same problems, same issues, same relationships, same drama, same crap, same income. Never moving forward. I decided that I was going to move forward, and I was going to leave those people where they were, and I was going to find new people. And that was, honestly, that was the hardest part. The hardest part was not building the business. The hardest part was not learning the skill. The hardest part was leaving behind the few people that I had, because I was like, man, if I let these people go, I don't have anybody. And that was really hard because, like, it's really hard to be like, oh, my gosh. But what I found is if you want good people in your life, you have to be willing to let go of certain people to make room and space. You know, if all of your time is being eaten up by people who aren't getting you to where you need to go, then certain times you need to give up those people. And that was the hardest part. And what I learned from Jim Rohn is there are some people you're spending weeks with that you need to spend days. There's certain people you spend days with that you need to spend hours. There's certain people that you spend hours with that you need to spend minutes. It's not that I ever ghosted any of the people. I just cut back the amount of time. And here's what I found in most cases, that I was the one doing all the reaching out. I was the friend, and they were the friend if it was convenient. If I was hosting, they were coming. If I was paying, they were coming. If I was calling, they were calling me back, but they weren't reaching out. So when I realized that, I left that behind, and now I'm building actual friendships. Because I went, I learned. Because I started bringing team members, the right people, they learned. Now, instead of me sitting there learning and turning around and regurgitating, everybody that I wanted to know what was going on sat in the room with me, and all of a sudden it started to compound. Because the people that I had in the room were learning the same stuff I was learning. So now I didn't have to take the time to turn around and teach them that, so that way they could turn around and teach somebody else that, so that way they can turn around and teach somebody. If you've ever looked at a chart on what happens, 50% of the information automatically disappears. So if you start with 100% and you cut it down one level deep, it's 50%. If you cut it down one level deep, it's 25%. If you cut it down another level deep, it's 12%. If you cut it down another level deep, it's 6%. If you cut it down another level deep, it's 3%. If you're 7 levels deep, it's 1.5%. 8 levels deep, what happens? It's gone. It's gone. It doesn't transfer at all. You don't even know what the hell the person's talking about. 9 levels deep, 10 levels deep. It'll never go that far. Why? Because the information isn't really transferring. But everybody's in the same room. Everybody learns 100% of the information. Now we can go out and accomplish something. So what I did is I started tracking, watch this, I started tracking how many people I was bringing with me. I wasn't just focused on bringing one. The first I was able to bring 1, and then I was looking at bringing 5. And my focus was 5. Then I was like, I wonder if I could fill a whole row. Then we started filling a whole row. Then we started filling 2 rows. Then we started filling 3 rows. Then I realized it was a takeover for half the room. I got to half the room. I was like, okay, could we get to 75% of the room? I got to 75% of the room. I got to 80% of the room. At one point, we were 95% of the room. Not that the other team hadn't grown at all. We just outgrew everybody else. We were 95% of the room. And at that point, I realized I need to get my own room. So we did. We went out and got our own room. And we started running events. So that's why I know a lot about being in an event, because I had to run an event. And I will tell you, running an event is hard. Running an event is a whole other part of the business. So the compound effect started happening because we were learning 100% of the information. I didn't just get people in. I got people to attend. So my goal was first to get them in. Like, I had 2 objectives, really. Well, 3. I had 3 objectives when I got somebody in. Number 1 is get them in. Number 2 was get them to an event. Number 3, I wanted to get them paid and promoted. Now, what I found is in a lot of cases, my order of how I did that usually was get them in, then I tried to get them paid and promoted. If I couldn't get them paid and promoted right away because they were unwilling to do, they were unwilling to meet, they were unwilling to do whatever, I would somehow convince, kidnap, some way, I would get them to a event. And if I got them to an event and they didn't like it and they didn't buy in and they weren't really part of it, then this was the hardest part. I left them, went and got somebody else and put somebody else underneath them, and I kept driving down. I used to spend weeks, months, and years trying to drag people who weren't coming on the journey with me. Why? Because they were the only ones I had. It was kind of like the friends thing. They were the only friends I had, so I kept hanging out with them. They were the only ones who signed up instead of spending the rest of my time going and getting somebody else. I just had to realize there are certain people who are willing to participate, but most aren't willing to participate. Most aren't willing to set goals. Most aren't willing to move forward. But watch this. You need a whole lot of people who aren't doing anything. You need a whole lot of people who aren't doing anything to make $1 million in this industry. In fact, the people who make $1 million have more people doing nothing than you do. I just realized I needed a whole bunch of them. And it kind of worked verbatim. For every 9 people who did nothing, 1 person did something. Now, is that any different than if you open a gym? No. Is that any different than the people who sign up for music lessons? No. Is that any different than the people who sign up for martial art lessons? No. But if you've never owned any of those companies or been around business owners who own any of those companies, you wouldn't know that. All you know is, well, I show up to work, everybody else shows up to work. Why don't these people show up? Because it's not a job. Now watch this. If we fired people, if you were fired for not showing up to your network marketing event, meaning no matter what level you had built to, no matter how much you had paid to get in, no matter what, if you didn't attend your event, you automatically didn't make residual, you automatically didn't receive overrides, you automatically didn't, you lost your team underneath you if you missed an event. The industry would be over. Just like that. The industry would collapse instantly. Why? Because there's so many people. This entire business is built off of a word nobody wants to even talk about in training, which is 100% responsibility and 100% discipline. That's what it's really. If you can be responsible and be disciplined, you can make it to the top. If you can't be responsible and you can't be disciplined, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for you. It's hard. But if you can do those 2 things, you can make it to any level in any company. So what I wanted to do is something a little different. I'm going to give you a taste of some of the training that I received that was worth, it was worth millions of dollars, actually. So I was privileged to work with a guy, one of my coaches, and this was somebody, so this was cool. I didn't have to pay for this with my own money, but I had to pay for it with production. I happened to be one of the top 25, I guess I was, yeah, I was in the top 25 leaders in this one particular organization of about 150,000 people. And because we were one of the top 25, the upline that I worked with wrote a check every month, or he actually wrote a check for the year, but it was $1,000 a month per person to spend 1 hour with this trainer. So this guy, this coach was charged $1,000 an hour. And the only reason he'd only charge $1,000 an hour, he would normally charge a lot more, is because he was taking on 25 of us at the same time. So that was a discount because we were all signing up simultaneously. So my upline wrote a $250,000 check for us. Actually, it was 300. It was 300,000. Just for the year. And I got this out of production. I didn't really respect it the first couple times, but when I started realizing what this guy was teaching, I got it. And this actually comes from notes from what he taught. And basically what he taught was a next level system to grow, not just your business, but grow everything you're doing. So what he talked about is, he said, Jeff, there's different areas of life. You know, you've got your faith, you've got your family, you've got your finances, you've got your fitness, you have your friends, there's the fun things you do in life. And we talked about kind of, you know, there's the theory of the rocks. You know, you put the rocks in first, and then you put the, you know, then you put the sand, then you put the water. You know, and it's kind of a cool analogy. I can't remember the whole story, but basically there's a college professor, and he's like, this is basically what life is, and he's got this big, huge, like, beer mug, and he's got these balls, and a couple of them are shiny and crystal. And he puts the balls in, and they're like, well, why are those shiny and crystal? He goes, well, basically because certain ones of these are flexible. You know, you can screw up a little bit in finance and come back. You can screw up a little bit with friends and come back. You can screw up a little bit with your faith and come back. He goes, but this one happens to be fitness and health. He goes, I'll be real honest, if you mess this one up, you might not come back. You know, if it breaks completely, you know, if you screw up fitness and health-wise completely, you know, and you cannot come back. He goes, so this one's a crystal ball, and you put those in first. And then he said, you know, that's about work and your friends and your family. You gotta make time for certain things. So he's talking about prioritizing. And then he said, you know, and then there's, you know, your work, and he pours in the sand, and the sand fills up, and they're like, okay, you have that, this, and this. And he goes, well, what's the beer for? He goes, well, there's always time. He goes, you always want to make time for a beer and friends and just hanging out and doing something social. So he talked about balance, and that's what this guy talked about. So this is from one of his books called Achievement, and he said, you know, chapter 1 was about choice. He said the foundation of achievement is actual choice. Achievement is simply doing, this is key. Achievement is simply doing the right things consistently over a sustained period of time. Doing the right things consistently over a sustained period of time. You can lose track, but you have to get back to being consistent. He said we do not experience immediate results with most of our choices in life. If you eat a McDonald's Big Mac every single day, you're not going to see an immediate heart attack. But over time, that will compound. If you go to the gym today, you're not going to see an immediate effect. He goes, the problem is most of the stuff that's the most important, you're not going to see an immediate effect day one. He goes, but what I can tell you is the stuff you can't see is the stuff that will make or break you. The stuff you can't see will either kill you or complete you. I was like, okay, I need to listen to this guy closer. I started listening to this guy with a pen and paper and a recorder because he would say stuff that was so profound, I realized my mind would go off in another direction. I'd miss the next 10 things, he said. He said, we do not experience immediate results for most of our choices. Our choices compound upon each other, amounting to either good results or bad results. He said, you should never be shocked by the results because you are in complete control of the choice. I was like, well, that kind of makes me mad. He said the quality of our choices will determine the quality of our life. Quality of our choices. So most people will choose entertainment over education. Most people will choose doing nothing repeatedly and making excuses rather than making plans and goals. Effective choice is defined as those choices that directly relate to your immediate goals. Effective choices are goal-directed choices and aren't instinctive choices. He gets into some really deep stuff. So this is psychology tonight, 101. You know, it's some of the basic psychology stuff, but this helped me understand why certain people would get pumped up, certain people would create a dream board, certain people would do all this great stuff and they'd have all the right intentions and they would do nothing for years in the industry. Like I watched people, they'd get into company after company, they'd spend money, they'd tell people, they'd tell friends, they'd tell Facebook, they'd get on Instagram, they'd buy programs, and they would not do anything. I don't know if you know any people like this. If you have a mirror at your desk, you're probably like, I need to listen right now because I'm going to tell you the secret behind why that's happening and how to fix it. Your brain interprets, watch this, your brain interprets status quo as security. Your brain interprets being average as being secure, being safe. And it's natural to want to stay right where you're at. That's actually built into your nervous system. It's built into your nervous system to stay exactly where you're at. That was scary. So what he goes on to talk about, he said, a systems approach to achievement to bypass our natural human instinct is the only way you will win. It's the only way you'll achieve, is you have to have a system that bypasses your basic human instinct. And this upset me, but your instincts don't care about your goals. Your instincts don't care about your dreams. Your instincts don't care about you achieving. Your instincts don't. Now, what are your instincts? Your instincts are basically all the things inside you that keep you where you're at. It's your functioning system underneath all the other stuff. So he said 4 questions to know if you're ready. Number 1, am I committed to my goal? Am I committed to my goal? And do I have a white-hot burning desire to do this? That comes from Think and Grow Rich, the white-hot burning desire part. In fact, I think I wrote that, not him. I had to, sometimes he would say stuff and it just wouldn't resonate with me, so I reworded it so that way it resonated with me from something else I had heard. Because he was so deep, I didn't get, guys, I had to take out my, Jeff translation, my David Bird translation to the real world. Because I didn't grow up educated, super analytical. I didn't grow up reading a bunch of books. I barely passed high school. Do I have the courage to keep going when times are tough? That's the second one. So basically he's saying, are you willing to achieve no matter what? 3, am I humble enough to be coached and mentored? That's something you have to ask yourself. Do you really want the help, or you just think you're good? Because I know people, they're like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I got it. I can figure this out myself. They're still sitting in the same place 10 years later. 4, this one was really tough for me. Am I willing to be accountable to achieve my goal? That was not fun. Everyone on this call is the CEO of their own life. No one is controlling you other than you making those choices. And you might say, well, my parents did, my economy did, my leadership of whoever you're following, my job did. You made that choice. Your life today represents the cumulative impact of the choices you've made, and your future will basically represent the sum of your past choices from today forward. So the only way you're going to fix things is figure out what you've been doing and change what you do in the future. Jim Rohn says it differently. He says you can't change your destination overnight, but you can change direction. I really like that. Because if you've been going on a certain path, we can change your direction overnight. It's not going to change exactly where you're at overnight, but it will over time. So culture, environment, circumstance can dictate your future, but only if you choose to allow it to. That was chapter 1. I mean, this was I had to go over this stuff 700 times. Chapter 2, managing the choice of attitude. So attitude is the second thing. It says there's 3 major choices we have on a daily basis to create success. Number 1 is choose our attitude. Number 2 is choose our actions. And number 3 is choose our accountability. That was attitude, actions, accountability. It says fear is a byproduct of your natural human instinct to keep you in your comfort zone. And fear always creates a negative attitude. So when I see somebody who's negative, you know what I really hear? They're scared. They're scared. That's really what it's about. It's fear. They're scared. They are picturing worst case scenario. Because if you are fearful by nature, you must use a system to overcome it. That's the only way you're going to get out of that problem, is you have to use a system to overcome fear. You're not going to attend a seminar, do some deep ritual. There's no crystal ball. Now, you can get excited temporarily. What he said is you can get excited temporarily, and you might go to a seminar and temporarily overcome it, but only a system will keep you overcoming it. It says your brain interprets pessimism as a productive mechanism of security. So basically, you negotiate with yourself and say, this is good because if I would have done that, I could have lost. right? This stops you from making investments. This stops you from talking to that person you needed to talk to. Oh my gosh, you might have talked to them and they might have said something weird and then you would have felt bad, and you always feel bad, so don't go talk to that person. If it keeps you feeling safe, it must be good for you. That's how your brain interprets it. So to grow, you must develop your potential, and your potential always lies beyond your comfort zone. So this relates to working out to me, because I had been working out, doing a specific workout, and I really wasn't getting to where I wanted to go. And I was going in and I was doing quote-unquote heavy weight. I was doing lightweight. But what I was doing is I was doing what was comfortable. I was doing what I was reading in a magazine, and then along comes two guys, both of which do not look human. I'm a superhero fan. I like to watch the superhero movies, and these guys look like superheroes in real life. I mean, one of them was my height, and he was 300 pounds, which is not healthy, by the way. I know that. This guy was not a health nut, but he was very, very smart. And he made a lot of sense in a lot of other things. I don't necessarily like all of his choices. That's why I'm not going to mention his name. And I don't like, you know, I can learn from anybody. But one thing that I learned from him is he said, I'll be real honest, you have to know what your body is capable of doing. And he said, most people do not know what their body is capable of doing. He goes, so if you go in to work out with, you know, a certain weight, and I'm just going to use 100 pounds, he goes, if you think you can lift 100 pounds and you only lift it 10 times, 10 times was what it was written down, said to lift. He goes, but how many times could you really lift that? What is your real potential on lifting that 100-pound weight? If you stop at 10, watch this, and you get to 64, how far off were you from your potential? So I used this theory, and I went in and I was doing something called leg extensions. And leg extensions are not really good for you at a heavy weight. So I was doing kind of a low weight. I think I was doing like 75 pounds. And typically I was doing somewhere between, I started like doing sets of 10, and then I went to sets of 15, and then I went to sets of 20, and I kind of would always work between 20 and 25. So I used this theory one night, and this is just a live example of this. I'm like, am I really working out at my potential, or am I just kind of following this BS workout, and I'm not really getting the most out of it? So I'm like, I'll test it right now. I warmed up, and I put 75 in, and I warmed up, and I'm like, I'm going to see what I'm really capable of. And I started going, I got to 25, I got to 30, I got to 35, I got to 40, I got to 45, I got to 50, I got to 55. By the way, somewhere around 50, I almost lost count because your body starts shaking. And here's what you'll typically find. Your mind will negotiate with your body, and you'll give up mentally long before you give up physically. And that's true in everything. My brain was negotiating with my body going, you're not supposed to go this far. And my body's like, no, I'm cool. I can keep going. But all the signals were saying, stop, 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 stop. Now, again, we're not talking about hurting yourself. I had been doing this a lot. I had worked my way up to this. This isn't day one that you're supposed to start doing this. You need to warm up and practice and follow some plan. I'm not giving you what you should do. I'm giving you what I did to understand this lesson. And I got to 55, and I got to 60. And somewhere between, I can't remember 63 or 64, I found I couldn't do any more. Like my leg wouldn't go up. And I stopped. So I went back and I calculated. 64 was my real potential, and I was doing about 25. So I was really only doing about 30% of my actual potential. Any wonder why I wasn't getting anywhere? Why was I not growing? Why was I not getting stronger? Because I wasn't doing my real potential. Now, I had somebody challenge me on this. They said, if God gave you the ability to do 100 and you're only doing 30, what are you really saying about the gifts he gave you? I was like, oh my gosh, take the knife out of my back. To grow, you must develop your potential, and your potential always lies beyond your comfort zone. It says you cannot achieve and be comfortable at the same time. I was like, oh. So understand this. The people who come at me with coaching, and I say, well, where do you want to get to? They're like, well, I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be comfortable. I just want to be okay. I just want to be good. You can't achieve and be comfortable at the same time. Most dysfunction in business and personal achievement can be tracked back to the root cause: ineffective thinking habits. You absolutely cannot associate with negative people. So he goes on to talk about that association that we talked about at the beginning. He said, if you're in the attraction business of MLM, network marketing, affiliate marketing, you must seek out and destroy negative thinking from your life. A positive attitude is a predetermined habit of thought dominated by faith, hope, and positive expectancy. So what he's saying is, the same exact imagination, so there's a spot in your brain that allows for imagination. The same imagination that creates fear also creates faith. You're focused on the fear if you're negative, because what your body's trying to do is it's trying to keep you in that spot to keep you safe. Because if you move forward, it basically says there's a possibility of danger. Now, this totally makes sense if you think about how humans lived in caves and outside at one point, and if they ventured out too far, there was not the protection of the village, there was not the protection of the fire, there was not the protection of the elements, and if you ventured out too far, you could die. So the body's like, hey, stay where it's safe. The problem is that's ingrained into our system in every way. So even though we're in a house, even though we're in a city, somebody in the country and somebody in the city will basically have that same basic human instinct that says, don't go too far, you might not be able to come back. Same fear. What he's saying is a positive attitude, a predetermined thought by faith. Faith means you're creating a picture of the best case scenario. So that's one thing that I started asking myself. What's the best case scenario here? I had to physically ask myself to get myself to use my imagination, because I grew up in a household where everything was based in fear. Don't go to that side of town. That's where people we don't know live. Don't go to that mall. That mall is where those other people are that we don't know. I don't like going over there because it's scary because I've never been over there. Oh, I'd never go to that city because I've never been there. Like, my mom consistently projected this fear out and does it to this day. The fastest way to promote achievement is to believe it's possible. Creativity cannot exist in negative thought. Achievement is actually 80% mental and 20% actually what you do. So there's 5 steps to mental toughness. Number 1, always look for the positive in everything. Fear serves no purpose in achievement. You will achieve your dreams in your mind before you actually realize them materially, so you might as well think about the possibility first. You do attract what you think about, and you're going to pick up the skills, and you'll pick up, watch this, you'll pick up the people. See the room full, and you'll find the people to fill it. See the people not coming, and you'll find the people who won't show up. 2, manage your daily choices according to your goals, not your feelings. Your feelings will always pull you back to your comfort zone, always. I mean, he hammered us on that. How you feel should never have anything to do with what you're doing. Because what the feeling really is fear. It's fear. It's your basic human instinct firing off saying, you better scare yourself. You're going to go somewhere we don't know. We don't know that. Get back to where you know. And then I use do or do not. You know, that's where Yoda's famous line, do or do not, there is no try. 3, aggressively manage positive relationships. This will change you more than anything right here. It says your associations will make your success or failure in everything you do. High achievers always see things before they're created. I see this event. Beth and I started talking about this event. I see this event. Here's what's going to happen. There's going to be all these people speaking. We created it. It was an idea. I had seen it before, and that was the reason why it's important to hang out with certain people, because I had seen other people create it, so therefore I knew it could be created. So therefore, I'm like, here's what happened, here's what we did, we wrote it out, and then we made it happen. High achievers always see things before they're created. You must have the farmer's mentality. The farmer's mentality is, I know we'll have a harvest if we plant, cultivate, and basically give the time necessary to do it. They do not expect results in 24 hours from a planting season. It's going to take time. 4, live in the moment. No procrastination. Do something right now towards your goals and your dreams. Consistently get out of your comfort zone. The only way you can get out of your comfort zone is by tracking what you're doing. If you're not tracking, and this is what I tell everybody, if you're not tracking what you're doing, you're not really doing much, because you're always going to be pulled back. And what I mean by that is, if you want to get, watch this, if you want to get to a point where you're presenting 15 to 30 times or 30 to 45 times, it starts with your first month of tracking, even if that first month is bad. Even if that first month you only do 5 or you only do 3, at least now we have a number to build on. But when you're like, I didn't track, I didn't do anything, there's nothing to build upon. 5, you have to believe. You have to believe. It says, must have faith. Believe in what you cannot see, but want to happen will happen. You must imagine yourself successful. You must imagine yourself sponsoring. You must imagine yourself showing up with a team. You must imagine. You must imagine yourself contacting. You must imagine yourself winning. You must imagine yourself on stage giving your speech. If you can do that, it can happen for you. Where are we at time-wise? I'm going to go one more chapter, and then we're probably going to wrap up, and I'm going to turn this over to Beth. Is that cool? Okay, so managing the choice of action. So this one's key. It says, if a key component of achievement is doing the right things, then what are the right things? And this is where I asked my mentor, David Bird, I was like, you said that achievement is doing the right things over an extended period of time. I said, so is that what is the main problem with most people, why they don't achieve? They just don't do it long enough? He goes, and he has this real funny southern accent because he's from like South Texas. He's like, no, Jeff. The reason is most people never even find the right things to do. I was like, oh. He goes, you have to hang out with somebody who's already made it, so that way they can give you the right things to do. I was like, well, that does make sense. It says, if your action is ineffective, you always know by the result it makes. So I love this. People are like, well, I've been sending text messages. I've been adding people, you know, and I've been sending them my email video. I've been sending them my video and sending them my video and sending them my video. How long have you been doing that? For a year. It's still not working? No. Well, let me read this again. Effective actions always deliver desirable results. If your action is effective, you always know by the result it makes. If it's not effective, you know because there's no result. I was like, maybe you should change what you're doing. It's not how much you do, but how effective it is what really counts. He goes, quit trying to just do stuff and do stuff that's effective. Effective actions are those that move towards your goal. Ineffective actions are those that fill up your day but do not move towards your goal. So this is where I talk to people about, you know, wasting time and entertainment versus education, doing what you should do. It says successful people are great at prioritizing and always accomplish the activities that give them the highest payoff. The best version of that sentence is a book called Eat That Frog. If you haven't read Eat That Frog, you need to read Eat That Frog by Brian Tracy. If you are ineffective, if you are bad at time management, as Jim Rohn said, you cannot manage time. There's 24 hours in a day. Every single day the sun comes up, the sun goes down, every day. Now, you might not be able to see the sun every day because of the clouds. I understand that. But every day the sun comes up and the sun goes down. Every day. It has for thousands of years. It's the same 24 hours today as the same 24 hours last year, the year before, the day before, the century before. This has been going on for thousands of years. So if you go around asking people for more time, they'll lock you up. And rightfully so, because there is no more time. Now, there is effective use of time. Most people, it's not lack of time. It's that you're really ineffective at prioritizing what's important versus what you feel like doing. Well, I just didn't feel like doing it. That's why you're not successful. Now, the reason you didn't feel like doing it is because your comfort zone is pulling you back into, or your basic human instinct is pulling you back into your comfort zone. That's what's actually happening. When I started realizing that was what was happening, and I found myself sitting at home when I knew I should have already left, I'm like, damn, that's what he's talking about. That's that basic human instinct going, no, just stay inside. No, it might rain. No, it might be too hot. That's your basic human instinct. And that voice in your head, that's the basic human instinct talking to you. And, eventually you're like, shut up, I'm going. So I had to write down, watch this, I had to write down the right things to do and then compare it with what I was thinking and feeling. And I realized the right thing to do was usually in direct conflict with what I was feeling and thinking. Why? Because nobody in my family had been super successful. Nobody in my family had built a big business. So I had to go against what I was taught. What I was taught was to stay home. What I was taught was don't stay up late. What I was taught was just go to work. Just have someone else set goals. You just show up and collect a paycheck. Get the most important thing done first is basically the principle of Eat That Frog. They will be the things you feel like doing least and will be pushing you out of your comfort zone most. Contacting, inviting, welcome calls, prospecting, presenting. All the things we talk about. So what we've done here at the MLM Millionaire Club is try to put together the best way to do it to get the most positive. Watch this. It's not always the fastest result right away, but it's the most positive response right away. I would rather somebody send 10 text messages and get 10 positive responses than I would somebody sign up. Because what I'm doing is trying to show them you're not going to get a huge amount of conflict here if you're talking to people who we're looking for. Once you do the highest pay activities first, you'll feel amazing and you'll feel you're stretched out of your comfort zone. So basically what he teaches is to find something called your KPIs, your key performance indicators. Key performance indicators are the half a dozen things that make 80% of the results. Inside of direct sales, what are those? Inside of network marketing, what are those? It's pretty simple. Having a list of contacts. That's number one. Got to have a list of contacts. You got to create contacts. Your contact list you can write down from your friends list, your family. You can write it down from Facebook. You can write it down from LinkedIn. You can write it down from wherever, or you can buy it. Yeah, in some cases you can buy your contact list. You can buy leads. It's okay. You're allowed. Now, leads, most of the time, take a different philosophy system. It's a little bit more advanced than just, hey, do me a favor. Because if you buy some random list of leads who don't know you and you say, hey, can you do me a favor? People are like, I don't know you. Why would I do you a favor? Favors come from people you know. People you don't know, you have to find out what they want and build a little bit of relationship or rapport. We have a training for that. Not tonight, but we have a training for that. The KPIs are the right things to be doing. So achievement happens moment by moment, one day at a time. Watch this. It takes approximately 90 days to practice to begin to actually see your new planning habit to begin to work. It takes 90 days to create a habit, but it also takes 90 days to start seeing it start to work. So the people who want results right away, it doesn't happen. So many people are in the gym, and after 30 days, they don't look like the magazine picture. They're like, I'm out. I'm out. It's taking too long. 2 weeks in, I'm done. 10 days in, I'm still sore. I'm still fat. I'm still ugly. I don't want to do this anymore. It's horrible. It's just true. You have to keep going. And that's why it's so important to have good people around you who will push you to keep going. And here's the thing. If you're not tracking it, you're probably not going to get there anyway. That's why all athletes, if you look at the professional level, everything's tracked. That's the difference really from amateur and professional. There's a huge difference. And it doesn't matter if it's football or track or swimming or badminton or table tennis. Do you realize they track everything you do in table tennis at the professional level? Table tennis, a plastic ball, a wooden spoon, and a Formica table, or whatever that table's made of, because it's made out of some special thing. They track what you're doing. They track how much sleep you have. They track what you eat. They track how many hits. They track how far back you're standing. They track the speed of the ball. In table tennis, if you're tracking in table tennis, do you think it might be important to track in what we do? In people who make over 100,000 a year, what I found is also, typically you'll find the majority of their activity is tracked, typically. You're not going to find salespeople who make between 100,000 and $1 million not track what they're doing, usually. They have reports and tracking to know if they're on pace, to know if they're off track, to know what they're getting, to know the ratio of what they're getting, so that way they can use those numbers to teach other people and duplicate what they're doing. The only two choices, and this is something David Byrd hammered, he said you only have two choices in life. You either are growing or you're declining. You're either getting riper or rotten. He says your natural human instinct will always direct you towards safety of not changing and keeping in your comfort zone. It'll always do that. To overcome your natural human instinct, you must use a system that's goal-directed. Benchmark is a level of activity that when performed over 90 days will produce specific measurable results. This is why we came up with 15 presentations is crawling. If you do 15 presentations consistently, month after month, at 90 days, you will see this compound. You will see the result. You will see it if you're doing 15 presentations. Now, if you're doing what feels good rather than what you should do, what feels good is, you know, that you're just sending a video. Oh, I sent my video today. I'm good. I'm good. I did a presentation. No, you didn't. Who saw it? Watch this. How many videos have to be sent out where somebody watches the whole video is the real question. Does anybody know that number? Approximately across the board? It's something like 100. 100 videos have to be sent out for somebody to watch one all the way through. It doesn't mean they liked it. It just means they watched it all the way through. You cannot manage results. This was key. You can't manage results. Results have already happened. Results are in the past. You cannot change the result that you just got. The result's already happened. You can't even manage that result because that result's in the past. How can you manage something that you did in the past? It's already done. It's already gone. You can only manage your actions moving forward. That you can change. If 15 got you one person and you need to at least recruit 2 to keep up with attrition, then you can only manage what happens in the future, and you can only change your activity in the future, and you're going to have to go from 15 presentations that got you 1. Maybe you might need to do 20 or 25 the next month to recruit 2. What does it take to recruit 2? It might just take 20. It might not take doubling. But if you double, the result will at least double. In most cases, it'll triple or quadruple. In most cases. And here's why. Success loves speed. Success loves speed. So those of you who are trying to go slow and steady, you're literally going in the opposite direction of success. And you're telling everybody around you you're going in the opposite direction of success. Well, I'm going slow and steady. I'm doing my one. And success is like, peace, I'm out. I'm going to go work with somebody. I'm going to go find somebody. And I'm going to go attach myself to somebody who's going to get this done right now. Because that's what success wants to find. And people who want to be around successful people want to get around somebody who's going to do it right now, not somebody who's going to do it over some long stretch period of time. Benchmarks are based on experience. Whose experience do you think you should use? Your own or somebody else who already did it? After 6 months of consistency, you can effectively start managing results and accuracy of your activity. Then you can pick out and go, you know what, when I did 20, I always got 2. So if I want 4, I don't know exactly, but I would guess I need to get to at least 30, 35. At 30, 35, presentations, full presentations, following the system, following the script, following exactly what to do. If I'm doing that verbatim every time, this is what it should result in. Choosing, identifying, managing, measuring your effective actions is the key to consistent achievement. Doing the right things consistently over a sustained period of time. This is the kind of training that I was not finding inside of most of network marketing. I wasn't hearing this. I was hearing be a good person. I was hearing talk to people. I was hearing just get excited. But I wasn't getting this. And this is what I found not only helped me, but when I was watching other people that had been in companies for years, this is the stuff that it was just like instantaneous change. Like you talk about microwave success change, not I'm going to be in a company 10 years before I get it. I'm going to be in a company in 10 days stuff started happening. I started looking for the fastest, most effective weapons in the industry to create with, to develop with, to promote with, and something that would duplicate. I mean, it's hard to find something that A, works all the time, B, is super easy, and you can duplicate over and over again. So this is the kind of training that I got, and this is what I want this call to be about, specifically this one topic. When we talk about, attend a weekly training, we're going to give you a lot of skills and basics, and then every once in a while when we hit this particular one, we talk about attending a weekly training. I'm not going to talk so much about just jumping on this call as I want to give you some of this stuff that I've learned that what I would consider is a much higher level of learning than just this is life stuff, this is not skill stuff. So Jim Rohn talks about there's two things. There's teaching skills and teaching life skills. This stuff that we went over today is life skills because you can apply it to anything. You can apply it to your faith. You can apply it to your family. You can apply it to your business. You can apply it to your health. You can apply it to your friendships. And this is the stuff that helped me the most. This is why I became who I became, and I went from barely passing high school to getting asked to teach at a college. I mean, this is funny, guys. I don't have a typical college degree. Now, Brandy and I did go through an advanced course and became naturopathic doctors. So I'm not saying I don't have an education now, but I didn't go through a typical four-year college degree education. I went specialty right away because I found a way to skip all the crap that I wasn't interested in and learn what I needed to know to become a professional and an expert. And now I'm getting asked to come in and speak at a college. But I didn't get that from the typical network marketing seminar. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bess for some of her insights and thoughts on our weekly training presentation. And then we're going to open up the call. Bess, over to you.
Boy, yes. This is so good, you guys. So it's important to teach the right thing, to know what to do, the right thing, and then go out and do it consistently. And I'm going to sort of nickname this core consistency. And that's what I brought to talk about tonight. But doing the right actions, that's exactly what I'm so happy that we're teaching here. And getting the results that we do, we keep hearing regularly that people are jumping ranks. So there's something working here. And when this began happening, we began teaching. Jeff said, we know we're doing the right thing. But he already knew that because he's already recruited 500 people and been getting his results himself. But we're able to teach it. And anybody from any company is using this stuff, not just Jeff, but anybody is. And David Peters, one of our friends and students, said this is the path of zero resistance. The favor script gets no resistance. And that's how it works for him and his wife, who hasn't been able to invite anybody before either to a presentation. It's working for them. And what we do after the favor script is do the 10-minute presentation, because it's interesting, Jeff, I never heard that before, but 1% of people watch the whole video. That's not a very good success rate. So that's why we do the 10-minute presentation. We teach to do that ourselves right after, the person says, yes, this is a good time, or later is a better time, or whatever. So that's really, really important. All of this is so good. And I want to welcome the people who've come on that I haven't yet, and that's Brandy Pember and Dr. Chris Inamoto and Antoinette Everett and Adrian Cogleton have come on. And at 512, I think that might be Joyce Shokowski. But we'll get to everybody in a few minutes, and be able to hear from you your favorite takeaways from tonight. So what I want to bring to this is consistency, what that looks like and what's in the way of that. Being a therapist and a counselor, I've worked with a lot of people on this, and also being on the sort of the customer service end of this school, I hear why people sometimes don't jump on the calls, or why people sometimes don't stay in the class. So I'm going to talk about that. Consistency. Think of a tree. You can't plant a tree and it starts growing and think, well, okay, I'm not getting any apples from this tree the first few weeks. It takes time to develop those roots, to deepen it for the tree to grow taller, to be able to produce the apples. In fact, the older and the older and bigger the tree, the more apples that you get. And the deeper the tree's roots, make it strong so that it cannot blow over in a storm of discouragement or disappointment, or something happens with the company, or they're back ordered, or they change the comp plan, or the owner dies and they have a shift of leadership or something. You don't want the tree to blow over the storm. You want you to be deep. You want your tree to be strong and firm in the ground. And you get that by getting the training that we're doing, the 10 core training, and attending these trainings every week, so that whatever happens with your company or your downline, or you lose a leg or two, that you can weather that storm, and that you can, I love this phrase, that you can be that which the wind cannot blow. And I think of a candle that can't be snuffed out, or the flame doesn't waver. It's stronger than that. That you're the same person from this strength, of this consistency and this discipline of deepening yourself. You're the same person even when conditions change. You are consistent. You are the same. You are dependable. Your team knows who you are, and that you will be the same person. Even that you will keep your vision, keep going steadily, even when the winds of change blow around you. Even when it's tough, even when conditions, even when other people might be giving up, your team can count on you. They see that you're disciplined. They see you do the 10 core, just like you see Jeff and Brandy work out. And it's not easy. They're getting outside of their comfort zone. I've been there when Brandy's, pushing and developing new muscle. That's not comfortable to do that. That's outside the comfort zone. That's where the new things lie, the new levels lie. So discipline is choosing what we really want the most. Do we want one cookie? Do you want 3 cookies in 5 minutes, or do you want 1 cookie now? It's keeping your eye on the 3 and having the discipline to wait while the seeds that you plant are sprouting and getting ready to produce. You keep on planting the seeds and keep tending them too. So one question you could ask yourself is, if I don't attend the class tonight, if I don't attend the weekly 10 core training, what's more important? Because we vote with our time, don't we, and our attention. So if you're not attending the core training, what's more important? Sometimes it is family emergency or urgency. Sometimes it is something else. But I'll talk about that in a little bit, the ways that I personally have to watch myself that I don't get off track. So repetition is the mother of success. That's what we're saying. Attend the weekly core trainings. You've heard of the bamboo story, that it takes 5 years of watering those bamboo seeds for them to come up. And meanwhile, the farmer gets discouraged. The neighbors make fun of him for wasting his time. He's carrying water out there every day in buckets that are heavy water. It's hard work. He's just wasting his time. What a silly farmer. So he not only has his own doubts, are the seeds good, are they going to come up, and then he has to face the neighbors and their doubts and all that, just like network marketing, right? But then all of a sudden, after 5 years, it takes only 5 weeks, starts to sprout 5 weeks, it shoots up 90 feet tall. And he makes, great fortune with that from his 5 years of waiting. So it's like that in network marketing. I know friends and some clients, some multimillionaires who've been in it for 30 years, and they have these deep roots, and they have, they're reaping their millionaire bamboo plants from all the discipline that they had. And they say, you know what, it's ridiculous how much money we make for as little as we do. But then they put in the 5 years or whatever till the bamboo got to that point. I know friends and clients who had 500,000 people on their team. So stay with one company as long as you can, doing the right things and doing the right actions consistently over, and a lot of them, as much as you can over time. It deepens it. And you see this in nature. It's like that apple tree. The older it gets, the bigger it gets, more apples it produces. You see that in good marriages that have deepened over time. You see that in investments, right? You've heard of investing, starting early and as early as you can in your life, and then you get income from that, and you reinvest that, and it starts sort of exponentially exploding. And that's the way it is in the network marketing business too, of course. There was a fellow who was training to run the Boston Marathon, and he kept looking for the perfect workout that would get him to the Boston Marathon. Well, he found it. And he said, guess what? It wasn't any certain workout. It was consistency. He found the key for himself. It was the consistency of what you do. It's much more important than any specific thing. And we find that in network marketing, too, that people might look for that magic bullet. I talked with one fellow, a network marketer. He said, tell me this, millionaire network marketers, tell me, what is the secret thing that they're all doing? They're not telling us something. There must be some inside secret that they're doing. I said, believe it or not, it's just talking to people day after day and doing it consistently over time, doing the right thing over time. He would not buy it. He kept looking for it. He goes, I know if I just can talk with one of them, get them to tell me their secret, I'll know what it is, but there must be something, some shortcut that they all know, this insider circle. Well, he just wouldn't, we must have talked for hours about that. He would not hear it. So I haven't been in touch with them the last couple of years, but he was looking for that magic bullet, and a lot of people do, like what Jeff said. They're looking for that no work lottery ticket method, and therefore they're not planting their seeds, not watering their bamboo shoots, so they don't see the results, and then they get mad and discouraged and struggle with life or quit or call network marketing bad and scam and all that stuff. And they're not taking personal responsibility because they don't want to do the hard stuff or the consistent stuff. So that is an enemy to consistency. That is an enemy to staying in the business, doing those KPIs, those 6 things, by the way, is getting your list, but also doing the invitation, inviting people, market daily and present daily, and then later get them to events. Those are the money-making events in network marketing, and you should be tracked. We track everything. In the school, I can tell you how many people I've invited, how many have gotten on the email list, the results, and everything. We track our views that we get. We've been consistent doing those lunchtime shows, and we get on the average of 500 people a day watching those now. It used to be we'd get 50 to 150 people watching, but over time we've been consistent. People see that. So the blocks that I see people not making it to these 10 core classes is they'll have kids over for dinner at this time at 9 p.m. Eastern time, maybe at 6 p.m. where they are, or on the West Coast, but or they'll be in church that runs over, or some other reason, or they have to get up at 5 a.m. the next day and go to work. Well, these are valid reasons. And guess what? There's a solution to that. These are replayed. These are recorded, so they can watch the replay. So I'd say no problem. Actually, most of the people who are in this class watch the replays. It's fine. It's fine to do that and get it this way. And by the way, when we turn off the open coaching, we have questions and answers and everything too. So if you have a question that you'd like answered, you can text me that question. We can answer it before we turn off the recording. So now there's no reason for them not to attend even by replay. Now, some people say, well, I don't have time to watch the replays. Well, then watch while you're driving, while you're exercising, while you're preparing food. I am always, multitasking like that. And some people have said, well, I don't have time to watch the whole 90 minutes, so therefore I'm not going to be in the class at all. That is so sad. That is so sad. Because guess what? Jeff just threw out about 1,000 really great tips tonight. And even if you get one of those, it's $1 million idea. He just gave out like $1,000 million ideas. If I only had time to watch 5 minutes of this show, that would be worth gold to me. That would be worth much more than the $25 I'm paying for this class. 5 minutes of that replay would be worth the $25, it'd be worth hundreds of thousands, because people turn these into millions of dollars of income. So don't let that you're not able to watch the whole 90 minutes stop you from getting your $1 million idea from 5 minutes. This happened to one of our students who just did not find the time to get all of his company's training and our trainings in there. And I just said, just watch the part you can, because that's going to be gold to you. Just try to get one idea per class, even if you just watch a few minutes. Some people let money be a block. Okay, I can't come up with the $25 a month there if I'm going to drop out of the class. Well, if they use the favor script and doing the 10-minute presentation, you can easily make more than enough money to cover the class. And much, much, much more. This is the Brian Carruthers. One time he laughed. He said, somebody said, I don't have the money to start my network marketing business. He goes, I can't afford to start a network marketing. It's not on the starter money. And Brian laughs. He goes, you can't afford to make money? So I look at this class as your seed money. This is how you make money. So if you can't afford the class, you can't afford to make money. That doesn't compute in my head. It's like, oh, I want this so much for people. I hope they can, find or sell something or not go out to eat and have the money to be in this class, and to help their team members to be in this class too. It's the same thing as getting started in a company, right? This is how you make the money. So use what we're teaching to make more than enough money, and teach your team to do the same thing. Some people get distracted from staying in the class because, I hear the reasons all the time why they decided to leave the class. They get distracted because of health reasons, or family needs, or they need spiritual retreats, and that's valid. That's valid for them. But if you truly cannot give it the attention, I just say let the replays come to your inbox, to your emails, and then get back to them when you can, as soon as you can. Come back to that. Other people get distractions, like, for example, time. They truly do get distracted from attending the class, listening to the replays, or even doing the presentations every day. So take a look at your calendar and see what are the time suckers. Where's your time being taken? And set a timer on social media, because I can sure get involved with that, and these are my friends, and I want to respond and everything. But set a timer on it because you want to keep a balance, not let that take away from doing presentations. So I need to discipline myself too to obey the time limits that I give each of the tasks, because otherwise it can take longer, right? A task expands to fill the time that you set for it. And overcome the discouragement. Another thing that can take you away from this consistency is discouragement. Eric Rory interviewed a lady who created eWomen, and she at one point wanted to give up because she was working a lot, and she was trying to get this off the ground, and she was just not sleeping and kind of going crazy from that. And she talked to her mother. She goes, Mom, I just don't know what to do. This is not, my new project's not paying the bills yet, and yet I have to try to keep it going, and I'm working and just going crazy. And she was a mother too, and she goes, I just think I'm going to have to quit. And her mother said, honey, how do you know you're not quitting 5 minutes before the magic begins? And she said, Mom, I don't know. And her mom said, honey, then you can't quit. And she says, well, Mom, what am I going to do? And she says, I don't know, but I do know that I raised a daughter who's smart enough to figure it out. And Sandra went and got coaching, and she said that made all the difference in the world, and she was able to, make a huge success of that business. Here's where some of the distractions that I found in myself, maybe it can help other people. The things that can distract me from consistency is I can get too focused on a task that I'm doing at hand, and it's maybe an addictive thing I've got to watch, because I'll forget to eat or exercise or even to sleep, or I get too stubbornly attached to finishing a task. I'm going to bull through this and finish this task, but then maybe something else doesn't get done that was more important that needed to. And I was riding that momentum, and so I need to watch out for that momentum, because it can keep me from accomplishing other tasks. It can keep me from getting enough sleep, and then I don't feel well the next day, and I'm not very productive. So sometimes I have to let go of something that I happen to be doing, even if I'm momentum, to make sure that the more important thing does not get undone. And for me, that includes sleep. I need to usually get enough sleep to do my best, and to actually save time. Or sometimes I can follow a YouTube video or an article online, and I think, oh, that looks interesting. I deserve a little break. I'll follow that. Maybe that can apply to what I teach and coach, and often it does. But sometimes I need to quickly just read it or scan it to know if if it's going to apply, and maybe I have a deadline. I've got to do something else, so maybe I'll just save that link and get back to it later, instead of following through, losing my focus, losing what I really need to get done that afternoon. And putting a time limit on that extra reading. Now, when I'm tired, that's when I really get distracted. It's like I lose my focus, and I follow, oh, that looks interesting. Oh, I deserve to feel good. I've worked hard today. I'll get distracted on YouTubes or articles or something on social media. And it's almost like I can't stop myself and put myself to bed sometimes. So what I need to do is go to bed instead of that, and catch myself doing that and go to bed instead of that, so that I can be refreshed the next day. Now, a few consistency tips. Never tell yourself, well, I'm not motivated. Similar to what Jeff said, well, I don't feel like it. That isn't the point. Ray Higdon says that his why is a ruthless dictator. It doesn't care if he's not motivated. It doesn't care if the fish died. It doesn't care about the little blocks that come up. So he has two words. He goes, keep going despite this or that happening, and I'm going to keep going until I reach this. He said, despite and until. I'm going to do this despite the fact that my tree blew over in the yard today, and I'm going to go until I reach my ruthless why. And don't let anything else be more important than it. Number 2, gradually build momentum. If you want to do something new or move out of your comfort zone, start with something that's the easiest, and then add a little bit daily. And have an accountability buddy to do that. Sometimes that's a coach that you hire, and sometimes it might be an upline or a friend or a crossline that you could help each other be accountable for. Number 3, have a plan B, like a babysitter when the kid thought the kids were going to be in school today, but one of them's sick, so what am I going to do? I'm not going to work today. You can have a babysitter or a helper or a plan B in case those things, don't work out, whatever would keep you from working. And a lot of times those plan Bs are built from overcoming distractions before, running into problems from before, and solving those. So always ask whatever you're doing right now, always ask this question. Does this lead to my goals? Is this contributing to my goals, or is it taking me away from it? Am I moving toward it, or am I moving away from it? Now, some people, why wouldn't they consistently, and I'm almost done here, but why wouldn't people consistently attend a training? Sometimes it's not believing that they can succeed in network marketing. That's more often the case. Sometimes it's not believing network marketing can work, but we see proof of that all over the place. People making more and more money all the time, like Jeff was saying. Sometimes we don't believe that we deserve success, And sometimes you don't love your dream more than the TV or whatever action. Instead, just say, what's more important than attending this training? Attending this training, because that's how you're voting, with your time and your attention. And what would stop you from attending a training? What would stop you from bringing people to a training? If you don't have the influence to bring people to a training like this and to your company's trainings, get into our leadership classes. That's what that's about, so that you have the influence. And how do you lead? That's what we teach. That's another class. But you can develop that. Everyone can develop and be a good leader. Okay, back to you, Jeff. Or I guess we can open the lines now.
Yeah, that was awesome stuff. What I want to do first is I'm actually going to turn off the recording, so thank you guys so much for being on. Appreciate it. Next week, we're actually going to go over attend a monthly regional and the importance of, the bigger events. And we're going to talk about the bigger events, how to get there, what to do. So great to have you on, and we'll hear you on next time.